In a world where wealth and status often define a person's worth, there was a man who had everything, a fortune that could buy anything, a life filled with luxury, and a future that seemed predestined. But deep inside, he felt an emptiness that all the riches in the world couldn't fill. His name was Henry Caldwell, and he was the heir to one of the biggest business empires in the country. But despite his success, he was lonely. Henry had never experienced true human connection. His wealth created a wall between him and everyone around him. People admired him, yes, but they also saw him as untouchable, out of their league. He wanted more than that. He wanted someone to love him for who he was, not for the size of his bank account. So he came up with a plan. True connection is built on authenticity, not wealth. In a society that often values material success and outward appearances, it's easy to lose sight of the deeper, more meaningful connections that make life worthwhile. We tend to measure our self-worth based on what we have, our careers, homes, and possessions, while overlooking the importance of genuine human bonds. But when we place too much emphasis on wealth and status, we risk creating relationships that are shallow and transactional rather than authentic and heartfelt. Authenticity, in its simplest form, means being true to oneself. It involves showing up as you are, without pretense or facade, and allowing others to see the real you. It requires vulnerability, honesty, and the courage to embrace imperfections. In contrast, when wealth becomes the focus, it can create barriers to genuine connection. People may feel the need to act a certain way to impress others, or may even start to believe that their worth is tied to their financial success. This can lead to superficial relationships where people are valued for what they have rather than who they are. Take, for example, someone who has spent their entire life accumulating wealth and accolades. On the outside, they may appear successful and admired, but deep down, they may feel lonely or disconnected. They might struggle to form real friendships or meaningful relationships because others are drawn to their success rather than their true personality. In these situations, it's easy to feel like you're surrounded by people who are more interested in your money or status than in who you are as a person. The fear of being judged or misunderstood can lead to a sense of isolation, even in a crowd. True connection, however, thrives on shared values, mutual respect, and emotional honesty. When we allow ourselves to be vulnerable and show up as our true selves, we open the door to deeper and more authentic connections. People who are drawn to us for who we are, not for what we have, are the ones who will stand by us through thick and thin. They appreciate our qualities, our quirks, and our imperfections, and they don't feel the need to put on a mask to maintain their affection for us. This is why relationships that are grounded in authenticity tend to be more fulfilling and long-lasting. When we drop the pretense and allow ourselves to be seen as we truly are, we create an environment where trust, respect, and love can flourish. Authenticity fosters openness, making it easier for people to connect on a deeper emotional level. It creates a space where both individuals feel safe to express their true thoughts, desires, and vulnerabilities without fear of judgment. In contrast, relationships based on wealth and status often create an environment of competition and comparison. People may feel the need to constantly outdo each other, whether it's through material possessions, career achievements, or social status. This can lead to unhealthy dynamics where people focus more on impressing others than on truly understanding and supporting one another. Over time, this can erode the foundation of the relationship, leaving both parties feeling unfulfilled and disconnected. Moreover, authenticity fosters empathy and understanding. When we are open about our struggles, challenges, and mistakes, others can relate to us on a human level. They see that we are not perfect, but we are trying, and that's what truly matters. It's through these shared experiences of vulnerability that we build stronger, more meaningful connections. People who are drawn to us for our authenticity are more likely to be there for us when we need support, offering compassion and understanding rather than judgment or criticism. By focusing on authenticity rather than wealth, we begin to value the things that truly matter in relationships. We start to prioritize emotional connection, mutual support, and shared experiences over material possessions and outward appearances. This shift in perspective allows us to form bonds that are deeper, more fulfilling, and more resilient in the face of challenges. The relationships we build based on who we are, rather than what we have, become the ones that nourish us, support us, and bring lasting joy into our lives. Humility and kindness are the foundation of meaningful relationships. In a world that often glorifies power, success, and self-interest, it's easy to overlook the simple yet profound impact that humility and kindness can have on our connections with others. Humility allows us to see beyond our own ego and recognize the inherent worth in others, while kindness serves as the bridge that fosters understanding, trust, and empathy. Together, these qualities form the bedrock upon which authentic, lasting relationships are built. Humility is not about diminishing our worth or accomplishments. Rather, it's about maintaining a balanced perspective on who we are in relation to others. It means recognizing that no matter how much we achieve or how many accolades we receive, we are all equal in our humanity. Humility allows us to appreciate the strengths and contributions of others without feeling threatened or diminished by them. When we approach relationships with humility, we create an environment where both parties feel valued and respected, regardless of their social standing, achievements, or backgrounds. When we are humble, we become more open to learning from others and more receptive to feedback. Humility helps us understand that we don't have all the answers, and that others may offer valuable perspectives or insights that we might otherwise overlook. This openness fosters a sense of mutual respect and creates an atmosphere where people feel comfortable sharing their thoughts, experiences, and ideas. In relationships, this willingness to listen and learn is essential for building trust and intimacy. Humility helps us recognize that everyone has something to offer, and that we are all constantly growing and evolving. Kindness, on the other hand, is the expression of empathy and compassion toward others. It involves acting with consideration, generosity, and warmth, not because we expect anything in return, but because we genuinely care about the well-being of others. Kindness is often a simple gesture, a smile, a kind word, a listening ear, but its impact can be profound. When we show kindness to others, we create a ripple effect, inspiring them to pass it on and creating a cycle of positivity and goodwill. In relationships, kindness is the glue that holds people together, fostering a sense of connection and mutual care. One of the most powerful aspects of kindness is its ability to break down barriers. When we approach others with kindness, we are signaling that we see them as human beings worthy of respect and dignity. Kindness creates a safe space where people can let down their guard and show their true selves without fear of judgment or rejection. It invites vulnerability, making it easier for others to open up and share their experiences, thoughts, and emotions. This openness is essential for creating deep, meaningful relationships built on trust and understanding. Humility and kindness also help us navigate conflict and disagreement in relationships. Disputes are inevitable, but when we approach them with humility and kindness, we are more likely to find common ground and resolve the issue in a constructive way. Humility allows us to acknowledge when we're wrong, take responsibility for our actions, and seek to make amends. Kindness, in turn, helps us communicate with compassion and understanding, even when emotions are high or tempers are flaring. Rather than escalating the conflict, humility and kindness create space for resolution, allowing both parties to feel heard, respected, and valued. In a world that often rewards arrogance, competition, and self-interest, humility and kindness stand in stark contrast as the true markers of strength and integrity. People who embody these qualities don't need to boast about their accomplishments or assert their superiority. They simply lead by example, showing others the power of treating people with dignity and respect. Humility and kindness inspire others to do the same, creating a culture of mutual care and understanding that strengthens the bonds between individuals. At the heart of all meaningful relationships is the recognition that we are all flawed, imperfect beings trying our best to navigate the complexities of life. Humility and kindness allow us to accept and embrace these imperfections, both in ourselves and in others. They remind us that we don't have to be perfect to be loved or valued, and that true connection comes not from our successes, but from our capacity to show up with empathy, care, and a willingness to learn. Humility and kindness create an environment where relationships can thrive, where people can be their authentic selves, and where love and trust can flourish despite the challenges life may bring. Pretending to be someone else can lead to self-discovery and genuine love. It may seem counterintuitive at first. Why would pretending to be someone we're not help us find our true selves or form meaningful connections? Yet this idea touches on a deeper truth about human nature. Sometimes, in order to truly understand who we are, we need to step outside our comfort zone and experience life through a different lens. By stepping into another identity or taking on a new role, we can gain insights that challenge our perceptions of ourselves and the world around us, ultimately leading us to a more authentic version of who we are. When we pretend to be someone else, we often do so with an intention, whether it's to fit in, to escape, or to find something we feel is missing in our lives. This act of pretending can lead us to explore aspects of ourselves that we may have previously neglected or been unaware of. It can expose hidden desires, values, and strengths that we didn't know existed. For example, a person who has always been told that they must be confident and assertive may, at some point, decide to downplay their dominant traits and try being more reserved. In doing so, they may discover that they have a soft, caring side that allows them to connect with others on a much deeper level than they ever expected. Pretending also forces us to confront the boundaries we have placed on ourselves. Many people build walls around their true identity due to fear of rejection or judgment. They fear that if they show their real selves, they will not be accepted, and so they wear masks to fit in with the expectations of others. But when we step outside our usual roles, even in a temporary or playful way, we're given the freedom to explore who we really are. Pretending provides a space where we can shed the armor we've been wearing for so long and act in ways that are more reflective of our true feelings and aspirations. In the process, we might realize that the parts of ourselves we've kept hidden for so long are the ones that make us truly unique and capable of deep connection. The act of pretending can also help us understand others better. When we take on different roles, we are forced to view the world from someone else's perspective. This shift in viewpoint allows us to empathize with people in a way we may not have been able to before. We gain a deeper appreciation for their struggles, joys, and the reasons behind their actions. This empathy enhances our ability to form genuine relationships, as we can approach others with more understanding and compassion. Pretending, in this sense, becomes a tool for building emotional intelligence and deepening our capacity for love and connection. It is important to note that pretending, in this context, doesn't mean completely losing ourselves or becoming a different person. Rather, it's about trying on different aspects of identity and behavior in order to expand our understanding of who we are. Sometimes the journey of pretending leads us to a revelation we were never pretending at all. The role we adopted might actually reflect a part of us that was buried deep within, waiting for the right moment to emerge. We learn that the person we thought we had to be was not the person we truly were, and in the process we uncover our real self. In relationships, pretending can serve as a catalyst for growth. If we enter a new relationship while pretending to be someone we think the other person will like, we may attract the wrong type of love, one based on false premises. However, if we allow ourselves to explore different aspects of our personalities through the lens of pretending, we may end up attracting someone who values us for our authenticity, even if it's different from what we initially thought they might like. By pretending, we allow ourselves to be vulnerable and authentic, letting go of the need to perform and instead embracing the messy, imperfect reality of who we are. And through this process, we often find the kind of love that is deeper and more enduring. Sometimes, the very act of pretending leads us to realize that the qualities we've been trying to hide or suppress are the very ones that others find most attractive. It's when we stop pretending to be someone we think others want us to be, and instead embrace who we really are, that we find love that is both genuine and lasting. True love isn't built on the need to impress or conform. It grows from understanding, acceptance, and the courage to be vulnerable. By pretending to be someone else, we allow ourselves the freedom to explore and eventually discover the person we were always meant to be. Wealth cannot buy true human connection or happiness. In a world that often places an overwhelming emphasis on material success, it can be difficult to escape the notion that money and possessions are the ultimate markers of a fulfilling life. People often measure their worth by the size of their bank accounts, the brands they wear, or the houses they live in. While wealth can certainly provide comfort, security, and convenience, it falls short when it comes to the deeper aspects of life, those that bring true joy, fulfillment, and connection. The truth is, no amount of money can substitute for meaningful relationships, emotional well-being, or a sense of purpose. At its core, wealth is a means to an end. It can offer us opportunities to explore the world, achieve certain goals, and experience pleasure, but it cannot fill the emotional void that so many people face. The idea that wealth leads to happiness is deeply ingrained in modern culture, yet studies consistently show that beyond a certain point, enough money to meet basic needs and live comfortably, additional wealth has little impact on a person's overall happiness or sense of fulfillment. People with vast fortunes may enjoy lavish lifestyles, but many still struggle with feelings of loneliness, emptiness, and dissatisfaction. In fact, wealth can sometimes amplify these feelings, as it creates a sense of distance from others. The more we have, the more isolated we may become, surrounded by people who value us for our money rather than for who we are. True human connection thrives not on the things we possess, but on the relationships we build. When we interact with others, it's not the material possessions or financial status that make us feel connected. It's the shared experiences, emotions, and values that bind us together. The moments of laughter, the conversations that make us feel understood, and the empathy we offer in times of need are what create lasting bonds. Money cannot replace these experiences, nor can it buy the depth of understanding that comes from truly connecting with another person. The pursuit of wealth often comes at the cost of meaningful relationships. The drive to earn more, acquire more, and climb higher on the social ladder can lead us to neglect the people who matter most. We become so focused on our financial goals that we forget to invest in the emotional currency of love, trust, and companionship. We might work long hours, sacrifice time with our loved ones, and forego personal connections, all in the name of success. In the end, we may achieve our financial objectives, but we are left with empty relationships and unfulfilled emotional needs. This imbalance can create a deep sense of disconnection, as we realize that the things we've worked so hard for cannot provide the love and support we need to feel whole. True happiness, as many discover later in life, is not found in accumulating wealth, but in finding peace with who we are and building genuine connections with others. It's the feeling of being truly seen and understood, the comfort of being surrounded by people who care about us not for what we have, but for who we are. These are the moments that bring lasting fulfillment. Wealth may be able to provide us with comfort and convenience, but it cannot replace the warmth of a hug, the joy of shared laughter, or the security of knowing that someone is there for us, no matter what. These are the things that bring true happiness. Moreover, wealth can create false expectations in relationships. People may be drawn to us for our money, thinking that our financial status makes us more desirable or worthy of their time. This dynamic can create a transactional atmosphere where relationships are based on what we can give rather than on who we truly are. The fear of being used or exploited can make it difficult to trust others and form authentic connections. Wealth creates a veil that separates us from the true essence of human connection. When we are valued for our money rather than our character, we may find ourselves wondering if anyone truly loves us for who we are. In contrast, when we build relationships based on mutual respect, care, and shared values, we are free from these concerns. These relationships are grounded in authenticity, and they provide a sense of security that wealth simply cannot. The emotional support we receive from loved ones, the genuine connections we make with others, and the sense of belonging that comes from being part of a community, these are the things that bring true happiness and fulfillment. Ultimately, wealth may offer convenience, comfort, and the freedom to pursue certain desires, but it cannot buy the essential elements of a meaningful and fulfilling life. True connection, emotional well-being, and happiness come from the relationships we nurture and the love we give and receive. These are the treasures that cannot be measured in dollars, but are instead found in the bonds compassion and empathy can break down barriers of status and wealth. In a world that often places emphasis on class, race, and financial status, it is easy for individuals to become divided by these external factors. Social status, wealth, and material success can create visible distinctions between people, often fostering an environment of inequality and division. These divisions can make it challenging for people from different walks of life to truly connect or understand each other. However, compassion and empathy have the power to transcend these superficial differences, bringing people together by fostering mutual understanding and care. Compassion is the ability to recognize the suffering of others and to feel moved to alleviate it. It is a deep emotional response to the pain and struggles of others, and it compels us to take action to ease their burdens. Empathy, closely tied to compassion, is the ability to understand and share the feelings of another. While compassion drives us to act, empathy allows us to experience the emotions and perspectives of others as if they were our own. Together, these two qualities allow us to reach beyond the barriers of wealth and status, enabling us to connect with others on a much deeper level. One of the most powerful aspects of compassion and empathy is that they create a sense of shared humanity. When we see someone suffering, whether it is due to financial hardship, emotional pain, or social marginalization, Compassion allows us to step into their shoes and experience their distress. We are no longer seeing them through the lens of their status or wealth, but as human beings with emotions, hopes, and struggles. This shift in perspective allows us to recognize the inherent worth of every person, regardless of their financial standing or social position. It breaks down the stereotypes and biases that often separate us, reminding us that, at our core, we all share similar hopes, dreams, and vulnerabilities. When compassion and empathy are present, they dissolve the walls that often separate us. It becomes clear that a person's worth is not determined by the amount of money they have or the social class they belong to. Instead, their value is intrinsic, rooted in their humanity. Compassion allows us to see people as individuals, not defined by their external circumstances. We no longer view others as a status or a category. We begin to see them as people with unique experiences and emotions, deserving of kindness, respect, and understanding. Empathy also plays a crucial role in building meaningful connections between people from different backgrounds. When we truly empathize with someone, we are able to understand their emotions, thoughts, and experiences without judgment. This creates a safe space for open, honest conversations where people feel heard and understood. It is in this space that relationships are formed, not based on superficial qualities like wealth or social standing, but on a shared understanding of each other's struggles and aspirations. Empathy allows us to connect with people not because of their financial or social position, but because we recognize their humanity and respond to their needs with kindness. Furthermore, compassion and empathy can inspire action that bridges gaps between different social classes. When people from privileged backgrounds witness the struggles of those less fortunate, empathy can drive them to take meaningful steps to help. Rather than seeing the less fortunate as other, compassion and empathy allow them to see people in need as equals, deserving of help, support, and care. This can lead to acts of charity, advocacy, or social change that challenge the very systems of inequality that perpetuate division. When we act out of compassion, we do not just feel for others, we also work to create a more equitable and inclusive world where people are not defined by their wealth or status. The power of compassion and empathy is also evident in the way they inspire personal growth. When we practice these qualities, we often find that our own lives are enriched in the process. Compassion reminds us that we are not isolated beings, but part of a larger, interconnected world. Empathy teaches us to listen with open hearts and minds, to learn from others, and to grow in our understanding of the world. Both qualities allow us to approach life with greater humility and appreciation, understanding that we are all on a journey together, navigating the complexities of life. At its core, compassion and empathy break down the very barriers that wealth and status erect. They remind us that we are all human, that we all experience pain, joy, loss, and hope, regardless of our external circumstances. They encourage us to connect with others on a deeper level, to see beyond superficial differences, and to respond to the world with kindness and care. In a society that often prioritizes material success and status, compassion and empathy are the tools that help us build more inclusive, understanding, and compassionate communities. Through these qualities, we can create a world where everyone, regardless of wealth or social standing, is treated with dignity and respect. Create with others and in the moments we share.